And I want to just say hello, good morning, welcome to everyone coming on live. I'm Laurel E. Lyon, the client attraction queen, and I'm here with a special friend today, Robin Suomi, who's joining me from Virginia, close to DC. And oh, there we go. The bell went off already. That's what happens when we go live. So, Robin is a phenomenal coach, and she's been doing this for a long time. And I say that out of great respect and acknowledging her wisdom, her experience. And I just, before we get started, I just want to say welcome, Robin. Thanks for joining me today.
Well, thank you, Laurel. Thank you for having me. This is a great opportunity to face my fears.
Yeah, right. This is something that prevents so many entrepreneurs from being seen and heard online. And now more than ever, it's not what's the word I'm looking for? It's not optional. It's not optional. And it doesn't mean that you have to be out there and be a movie star, but there's a lot of fears, and the fear of speaking in front of a live audience is still greater than the fear of death. It's still a statistic. So,
wow.
Yeah. And I recognize that as a therapist, but then also when I was working with my practitioner clients to do their business, it was amazing to me. I knew this other side of them. And then when they got to putting themselves out there, the stuff that would go on for them. So it is a real thing. And we're going to talk today about the fears that, how to take action to crush unhealthy fears and through a plan and a strategy. And that's what I always say when you have, when you face your fears, it's by creating a strategy, having a plan, and then that fear subsides. But myself, I've been doing this all of my life, and I still get nervous. I still make mistakes. I don't care. I do it anyways. That was what stuck with me. I do it afraid, do it messy, do it anyways. And that's my advice for the day. So, yeah. So, to those who are joining us live, thank you so much. If you're joining us on the replay, I'm here today with Robin Suomi, who's a long-term coach. And that says a lot about Robin, that she's still here and she's doing what she loves after all of these years at a time when there's so many that are putting out their shingle as a coach. And Robin specializes in startup. And there's many things that you might desire in your life that are on the other side of unhealthy fear. And it doesn't have to be that way. And that's how Robin addresses, that's one of her strategies that she works with. She's founder of Startup to Growth. And we're going to talk about common fears that small business owners face and how to manage them step by step. And truly, at the core of it, it's all about creating an action plan. And when you understand what you fear and come up with that plan, then you're able to, as we said, step by step, face the fear and make it manageable. So I'm just going to turn the floor over to you, Robin. And how did you come to be coaching? Because you started off as a court clerk, which you're a natural investigator. That's what I see about you.
Thank you. I started out as a court reporter in a courtroom, and I would take verbatim testimony from people that were testifying. And I worked all around the country. And through that, I actually owned businesses. I sold businesses. We moved around the country with my former husband. I would be an employee. I would hire employees. I'd be an independent contractor. I would hire independent contractors. And then one day I stood in front of the board in Northern Virginia Community College because I had been the most overeducated undergrad in the world at that point. I just kept moving different places, taking different courses. I looked at the board and I said, well, I can do that and I can do that. And I finally realized I was a business person. And I hadn't really had that realization before. So I started out with my associate at Virginia Community College, went on to George Mason, got my management degree, went on to George Washington, and got my my MBA degree. And then I went back to the community college where I stood in front of that board and taught as an adjunct professor. And so it was just a wonderful full circle of education. And I love educating and helping small business people. And through that process, I became director of a nonprofit, which also supported small businesses. So through the 9 years there, oh my gosh, thousands of businesses from A to Z, accountants to zoos, in a very, very vibrant economic environment, help people launch and grow businesses to 5 million sales. So I do startup, 2 sectors, those that are starting and those that are existing and want to grow to the next level.
Well, and we had a really in-depth conversation around your time with the nonprofit and what you saw business owners would be dealing with and where they needed support. And today in this time, what do you see people are dealing with in their business that they really need the support with and aren't getting it?
Actually, several areas. One is technology. Do a lot with technology. Because they always had some tech skills, but they didn't have enough. And now everything, of course, is online and social media. And they're like, I don't really like social media. And I'm like, I don't really care. We need to pick out 1 or 2 platforms, right? If what you want is on the other side of fear or just not caring about it, we need to find a way around that.
I totally agree with you. And more, people, because they used to feel they could hide from doing social media in their business, they're now coming forward. And I do believe that there are ways to work around it. The other side of it is that you just need to get them to their email list. Do you agree with that?
I do, absolutely. When I ran the nonprofit and I would send out, we had a large email list. I told my staff, as soon as we hit the send button, be prepared, because people registered for classes. They didn't always even open the email. It was a reminder, oh, got to go talk to Robin, got to go talk to Ruth, need to take a seminar. It was just a call to action for them just to see our well-established brand name. So you'll see. So here's the thing I want to talk about too. There are many lovely people out there who will tell you many crazy things. Okay.
I love that you said that. Thank you. Yeah, I was like, don't believe me.
Yeah, I know. So there are lovely people who tell you you'll make $1 million in a weekend and it's easy. I'm not that person. I love small business owners. It is not easy. If you want to make $1 million in a weekend, God bless you. Go someplace else. Okay, go pay somebody else thousands of dollars to show you how to do that. But you have to have a heart and you have to be coachable to work with me. And to build a business, you have to want it in your heart. I've heard people say, I'm going to lose 15 pounds, but just the way they toss it off, there's nothing there. They're not going to lose 15 pounds. So
I love that you said that, having a heart. And I just want to reintroduce you again too, because we have so many people coming on live today. That I'm here with Robin Suomi, who's a long-term coach, and she went to university, she got degrees in business, and she worked with a huge organization, and worked in the $1 million figure with organizations, and from a grassroots level. And I love that you said those that work with you have a big heart. What does that look like? Because you hear, oh, I'm a heart-centered, I'm big-hearted, but are you willing to do the work? That's what I always say.
Well, and that's it. They have to want to start or grow a business, because it's not easy, right? And if it violates their values, we do a lot with strategy, and we talk about their values. And if what they're doing is violating their values, it's not going to work. It's not a good plan. We'll have people through the years of my nonprofit, people that came through that were in a very difficult situation and decided they wanted to start a business. And that may be happening with the pandemic. That is a tough road. That is really, I was always encouraged to help the folks find some social services and some other services, because starting a business when they were in a panic mode, or going through a divorce or going through some other trauma, it's just not the best time to do it. So we would find other ways to support them, but they have to want to start their business with a free mind and have the resources to do that.
Wow. I love everything that you're saying. I'm hanging on.
Okay.
I so agree with you. There's
Mhm.
um, with the pandemic coming in, so many people did jump on, and then I saw buying into big programs because it's like, oh, I'm going to get this and this, and then when they're there, then it's like, oh, I bought into way more than what I need right now. Now I've got a
Yeah.
CRM that's $500 a month, and that's one charge, and I
Yeah.
don't have an email list or an email list less than 500, and the overwhelm
Yeah.
starts coming in.
Yeah.
So,
Tossing money at it is not the way to do it. Honestly, it's about having a plan. It's about, and so I really love to get to people on the startup side before they've started. And startups, by the way, are 1 to 3 years. So anybody who started a business during the pandemic, you're still a startup, right? Banks' technical decisions have been in business 3 years or less. You're finding out what your product is, what your price is, and it's probably changed. You start out doing one thing and you figure, okay, that's not it.
yes, six
Yeah.
months down the road, your ideal client is like
Yes.
so different because I don't want that one anymore.
And I want to say too, I've heard a lot of conversation about follow your brand voice and find your brand voice. You don't find your brand voice in day one. Okay. It takes, your ideal client. How in the world do you know that until you start your business? You can plan for it. And then you test it and revise and test and revise. But people come to me, they're so fearful. I know my niche. I know my niche. I'm like, well, awesome. But that may change. Or they're afraid of competition. Right now, the good thing about the pandemic is you can run your business online. The bad thing about the pandemic, besides all the other things on the business sector, is that there are a lot of people online now. So what? There are a lot of pizza shops in your neighborhood. Okay. You just have to be good at what you're doing and figure out what that is and the right price point.
Well, right. What I've been doing, I'm like many, but expert in so many areas, but who is it I want to work with? I
Yeah.
had to bridge that. That took me years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still working at it.
Yes. 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 We give you the permission to not be perfect, to not know all the answers. People say, I can't start my business until I know my ideal client and I know what my niche is and I've got my brand voice. No.
Yeah. Oh, I can't start my business till my website is done. You need a website, but you don't let that stop you, right?
Yes. Yes. Have a plan.
2 years later, my website's still not done.
I'm working with someone right now launching a product, and she started with Facebook, and she's now working on her website, and she's getting it ready. But you're absolutely right. These are excuses. There's the perfect way to start a business, and no one ever does it. I've never met the perfect business launch. And to me, only God is perfect. I'm not perfect. And the people I work with are not perfect. But, we try to be the best we can be. We try to learn. And so when I give, as a coach, when I give an idea, if the person accepts it and is energized by it, terrific. If it's wrong, if it's off the nose, that's fine. It's an idea, it's a suggestion, we brainstorm. And then sometimes 6 months later, they come back to that idea, and sometimes they never do. That's fine. But I want people to, so success is not how I define success for a client. It's how the client defines success. I just want them to know what that looks like for them. That's the strategy portion of it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I love that you said we work on their values. We get their values clear first, because you're exactly right. And I missed on that part. I've been with high-end coaches, and there's such a blend out there of what's the priority
Yes.
for their programs. But where I fell through the cracks was no one asked me.
Oh.
And I had to get clear on that, because exactly what you're talking about, Robin, is because if you don't have that, then you're doing what you think everybody else is doing, what they're doing, because you think you're supposed to be doing that.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And back on the strategy part, the mission and vision, we work a lot on that, which comes from your values, your mission, vision, goals, and objectives. But when I ran a nonprofit, I had questions all the time, people that wanted to do this, that, or the other. And I had a board of directors. Before I take it to my board, I'd look at my mission statement. Did it fit into our mission statement? If it did not, it was an easy no if I didn't want to have that happen. But if I saw an opportunity there to maybe find a way that it could fit in our mission, and I really thought it would help our clients and really supported our mission fundamentally, then I could take it to the board and we could look at it. But it was the way to help me be focused, and give an honest answer to people that wanted to do something that I couldn't support.
I love that you talk about that, because it's just so important. And my mind's going with the importance of that and what people miss out on if they don't have a clear mission statement, or because that's connected to your vision, where you're going. And what I learned, and this is to those heart-centered empath type of coaches who really feel for everyone else. It's like, don't make those decisions in the emotional moment. It's the strategy.
Yes. And supported by that purpose, that being emotive, being, some of my businesses are very logical. So I've got some financial advisors and folks, and I've got one lovely person who used to give some seminars for me. And it was a seminar for divorce, for women that were going through divorce, people that were going through divorce. She was lovely on the financial side, but she'd come in and she'd start cracking jokes. And I'm like, we have to embrace the emotionality in this room. And she had a really difficult time with that. We worked through it. She became a favored speaker, but she was uncomfortable with the emotional part of it. And then, so everyone is different, is what I'm trying to say. And I think you have to have your purpose. And her purpose was clearly to help the people in that room with their financial assets and to guard and protect them and grow them. But she had to get comfortable with the emotional soup that someone who was going through a divorce was going through, what they were experiencing in that moment.
Well, I just love that you brought that up, girlfriend, because to me, it's the body-mind connection, or the disconnection. And that's why I work so much with the client attraction, because their own discomforts, that's their inner world patterns, is what blocks them and prevents them from attracting that ideal client.
Okay.
Right?
I agree.
Exactly what you just said, because if you don't bridge that and you get good with that, then you're sending the wrong message. So you're repelling them. You're not attracting them.
Yes. And I also have a sense you're a very good listener, because you need to I need to truly listen to my client and not presuppose what they're going to tell me when they give me the first few hints. I want to know what's really going on before I can help them. So I try to be an active listener.
I love that word. I really started hearing that this year. And I'm hearing it a lot from men online. Men naturally are better listeners than women, because we're the connectors. And that's a big lesson that I've been learning my whole life. When I was in real estate, actually, my broker, he said, okay, give them all the information, then you do this thing, zip it. And that's, we're uncomfortable, especially coaches. I see this all the time. It's kind of like, we want to tell them everything and tell them. And then when it gets quiet, then we're uncomfortable. But they're processing. They're just, so to give them that space to ask the question, right? So that they also feel very heard, like you get them when you give them the platform.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm fascinated by the fact that men are better listeners. I've got to do a little research on that, because I always had thought it was women. So I'm glad that you said that. By the way, I'm a whitewater learner, always want to learn more and be better, right? So
men are from Mars, women are from Venus. That book caused a fight in our house. But it's true. Men are like, okay, give me one thing. And, and if, here's a story I heard too, is the man sitting watching TV,
Mhm.
And then the wife, she's talking to him and she knows he's not listening because he's laser vision on whatever, the soccer game or whatever.
Yeah.
So she comes and stands here and he's like, I said to my husband, we'd been married, I don't know how many years. I said, do you ever get tired of me being the one doing all the talking? Miss Chatty Cathy. And he's in his way. He takes this long breath and he says, my grandfather always told me you learn more about people by listening.
Aw.
I was embarrassed but I learned. I always hear him saying that.
Yeah.
And
No, that's true. That's absolutely true. So, as a coach, I try to really listen and not make a judgment on what I think they're going to tell me, but to really have, and as you said, have them be seen, hear them, have them be seen. Otherwise, I can't help them. I'm just being a guru. I'm just having them come to my door and I'm giving them my customized program or my standard package program, which I don't do. It truly has to be working with the person that's in front of me and whatever challenges they're facing at that moment.
yeah.
So,
Oh, I love that. I've had such a time creating a group program because everybody is at a different place.
yeah.
And for them to be successful, you still have to do the one-on-one. And yes, the money is important. We deserve
Mhm.
to earn income from what we do, but it's what the money does
Mhm.
in our lives more than being driven by the money and the big coaching programs. So I value that you say that too, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
your transparency and your honesty. That from our first connection, I got that you listened to me, and I like that you listened to me. So I appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I think there is a definite connection here. I love the way that you walk, and I always have a really wonderful feeling. So, anybody who's out there who's afraid to go on a show, check out your host, because the host, in this case, Laurel, makes a huge difference in how comfortable I feel as a guest, which you've made me feel incredibly comfortable. And
Yeah.
you can get over your fear, but pick the right show, pick the right guest, or pick the right host.
Thank you so much for that. And
Yeah.
I have been interviewed quite a bit, and it kind of startled me sometimes what was going on. So I understand how that feels on that side of it. So it's important to me. So thank you so much for that. So Robin, what would you like to share with people at this point? Is there a top list of things for them that you want them to look for, aside
Mhm.
from, yes, connecting with Rob and Somi, and I'm going to drop that link in there right away, but I'm just
Thank
going
you.
to turn it over to you to chat for just a few moments there.
Thank you. So I've got a couple things that I've talked to clients about, that action crushes fear. We all have fear. And by the way, we're not talking about the paralyzing fear. With the pandemic, there's a large mental health crisis across the world. And this is not talking about that. I work with a lot of therapists. There is absolutely a time when you need to reach out to a therapist, whether it's a check-in, whether it's a more intense program. Please do that if you're facing fear and anxiety and it's debilitating in your life. This is not that talk. I am not a therapist. I'm not licensed and trained in that. You don't want me to talk to you about that because I cannot and I should not. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a CPA, and I can't sell you insurance. But I do want to talk about the fears that are very common that we all experience in life that stop us from doing things. And I have a saying that almost everything we want is on the other side of fear, right? And if we let that fear stop us, then we're not going to get those things. We're not going to live our purpose in life. And that's really important to me that we actually do that. So started studying fear years ago with Susan Jeffers' book, Everything You Want, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, which was a liberating book. It was awesome. Seminal book. But I want to talk about how when fear stops a small business owner, a couple of situations that are pretty common that people are fearful of, and then go back into what some of the root causes of those fears are that I've discovered, again, not as a trained therapist, but as a coach that I've seen a lot of people deal with. So, and by the way, it's truly common. So, and if I look over here, I've got a screen over here with notes because I carry a lot in my head, but I want to make sure that I got some certain points down. So I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just looking at another screen. But I also believe that success is rarely accidental and that results require action. So if you have a fear, first let's talk about what some common ones are, and then let's talk about a plan to get beyond that fear. And so it doesn't stop you. So some of the common things are afraid of networking. I'm amazed at people that are really afraid of networking. But I also understand it. It's not, you just don't feel comfortable with that. Videos and podcasting. I was sharing with Laurel that, this is not my favorite thing to do. And I will share a story when I get into the fears about a long time ago when I was in class giving a presentation. Turns out that in my profession, I've given a lot of presentations to large groups. But at first it was not easy. It took some practice. It took some mental mindset to get over that, and it took determination inside. Starting a business. People are like, I don't know how to start a business. Of course you don't. You've never done it before. I want to go to the next level. I don't know what that looks like. Of course you don't. You haven't done it before. So all these different fears. Writing a book. There's a book inside you, but you don't know how to get it out. So these are just some common fears, but they're often fears about things to do, but they're surrounded about internal fears. And one is, you ready? The fear of rejection, right? We want to be loved and liked. And you're in a sales call. Fear of sales is really a lot of it fear of rejection, because I'm going to ask someone for a sale at the right point of the process, and they might tell me no. It feels awful. And we're so afraid of it that we just have these lovely conversations, but never actually ever in the process ask for a sale. So that, and Laura, if we don't ask for a sale, we don't have money for our business, right?
Oh, so you're right. And people are like, oh, I don't want to look salesy. I don't want to be sleazy. And that comes back to the ideal client and your vision.
Yes.
If you know who you're talking to, you never sell again.
Absolutely. So, but fear of rejection is just really a big one. As one of the root fears. Uncertainty. We are humans. We'd like to know that 1 + 1 is always going to equal 2. If you're a small business owner, you've got to give it up. Okay. You are going to live in what I call the gray area. Learn to love the gray. The world is no longer black and white, where you go into an office and there's a procedures manual. You're going to make your procedures manual up, right? There's not a procedures manual here. If you want a pencil, you're going to go down to Staples and get it yourself. You're not going to go to the pencil closet to get the pencil. There's not all of these decisions that are already made for your corporation when you have a corporate job. They're completely different now. You're making all of them. Everything is uncertain. So, and it can be almost flashing lights and piercing sirens, scary, right? You've never done it before, but you have this feeling deep inside that you want to own your own business. And so we're going to talk about how to cope with that. A lot of it is getting some information and creating a plan. The plan does not say you're going to absolutely start a business. It says you're going to educate yourself about what it takes. Some of the best work that I do when I ran the nonprofit was helping people say that, I want to start a business, but not now. I want to wait a few years. I want to do this, that, or the other, and be more prepared. And sometimes it was not having them put their 401k into starting a business. That was actually the positive aspect of that. And for others, they were raring to go, just couldn't wait to get out the door. And neither mattered to me as a person giving the seminar. Again, what mattered was that the people that I was working with connected with what their fears were, what their dreams were, and got the information they needed to move forward. But uncertainty. Learn to love the gray. It's not black and white anymore. And here's a really big one. Fear of not being good enough. So, and it's called now, the term now is imposter syndrome. I was in a mastermind group, mostly men, about a few years ago. And one gentleman in the room said, and it was odd that I had a mastermind with mostly men, but that's how this one worked out. And one guy came in, and he's like, I'm giving a talk tomorrow to a chamber, and I feel like such a fake. And the entire room just gave a collective sigh. It wasn't on my agenda. We had a half-hour discussion about how they all felt fake as they were presenting themselves to their community as experts. And they all were experts, right? But they didn't feel like it inside. So this imposter syndrome, if you feel that, it's not fake. It's a real thing that we feel. So you have to have a plan to make sure that you're getting support and that you So one way I combated this, excuse me, was when I would run the mastermind group, I would have everybody put sheets of paper up on the wall. And I would say, okay, because after they got to know everybody, and I'd say, okay, I want you to put the strengths of everybody else in the room. And they would all go around and put their strengths on this sheet of paper. And then they would be able to go look at their own piece of paper, what other people had written. It was amazing. I have seen grown men cry because other people can see in us what we cannot see ourselves. Have you ever had a situation like that, Laurel?
Well, I believe, yeah, I often talk about the goldfish, looking for that life-giving force, swimming in it, but can't find it. Have you seen that? Have you seen that life-giving force they say is around here, but I can't find it? And oh my gosh, because we tend to not write a biography or not a bio. My gosh, I just, because I've got a list of this. And then I think if I put this on, then I'm going to look like I'm, boasting or bragging. And so I dim down.
Yeah. And we don't want to do that in business. We've got to brag a little bit. But it's true. It's based on facts, right? It's not really bragging. But this moment when other people can see qualities that you deny in yourself, and lift you up. And on the other hand, this talk is not about the weaknesses, but we have weaknesses. We all have weaknesses. And I tell people that when they do the SWOT exercise with friends, excuse me, to have everybody tell them their weaknesses. And I said, do not be combative with them. Don't argue with them. Smile, say thank you very much, put it on the post-it note and put it on the wall and figure out later what to do with that weakness, right? Because people can see things in you, both strengths and weaknesses, that you don't see yourself. And it's not bad to not have it's not bad to have a weakness. It's bad not to know that you have it so that you can guard against it. So anyway, being an imposter, not being enough, that you don't know enough, you're not really professional enough, that's a fear. Vulnerability, just putting yourself out there. It used to be you'd write a story, but now we're on video, we're on social media, we're on podcasts. This lives on for a really long time. And I gave this with its own category because with all the social media, it really is a very big one for a lot of people. You feel like you're going to look silly. It's like, I'm trying to do more videos. I'll be honest with you guys. It's a fearful thing for me. I'm afraid of a lot of things.
Well, I'll just share with you. My first coach, her hashtag was the video queen. My first video that I did on my own, 96 takes.
Oh, bless your heart.
Self-critical? Oh yeah. That was so I understand what you're saying.
Yes, I know. And thank goodness now we just kind of run it and go it, right? Facebook Live, what better thing than that? We saved us so much time. But everybody, if you're having this vulnerability, you're not alone, right? But you can let it stop you, or you can make it reasonable and use it as an edge to do better, right? You're not perfect. Okay, don't expect to be perfect. Again, perfect is not on the earthly realm as far as I'm concerned.
Robin, just on that note, like that's why people connect with us, because they see that, oh, she fumbled up that word, or she forgot what she was saying. She's human. Oh my gosh, she's human. I think I like this person.
There are actually studies, and this was not true a few years ago, but there are studies now that if we give a really slick video and we're a small business, people don't really trust us. They're much more attracted to the real us. WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get.
Wow. People are scrolling so fast and they see that polished look and the same words on everyone. It's like, next. Yeah, be you.
I love it. And fear of failure. Okay, so that's a really, really big one. But there's always lessons to be learned when you fail. And if you think you're not going to fail, seriously, do not become a small business owner, and don't try and grow. If you're not failing at something, you're truly not trying enough. And you're just staying in your nice little cocoon. And that's lovely. And if that cocoon is all you want from life, stay in your lovely cocoon. But you won't grow. You won't experience all that's out there that you're capable of. And that just seems sad to me. So
Thank you. Well,
yeah,
thank you for saying that. Well, it's so true. It's stretch and grow. You only grow if it's uncomfortable. You know that it's working.
yes, yes. And yeah, so I'm an introvert, right? And I give presentations to hundreds of people, but I always had to make sure that I had time beforehand to get my energy level up and time afterwards to recoup my energy. And people didn't know I was an introvert, right? But it didn't matter. So my people say, "Oh, I can't give a presentation. I'm an introvert." Silly, silly, silly. No, you just have to know it's an energy thing and find a way to cope with it. And I love giving presentations. I don't love yet the videos, although I'm getting better. I'm getting more. I'm getting to love it more. Just simply doing it, practicing it. I think you were going to say something.
Oh, I've got so much to say, but I didn't want to. I think
Okay.
we're having another coffee date, Robin.
But in all this stuff, know your stuff and move forward. And that fear of not being good enough. I remember, I will give an example of what I used to, my first presentations were at George Mason University in the Northern Virginia area. And I had a professor that I adored. And part of a public presentation was part of every class that he had. And he said, there's only 2 of you that'll be invited on the plane with me to give my next presentation when I travel to go as a consultant. And there were like 35, 40 people in the room. I knew I wanted to be on that plane. I knew I would do anything to be on that plane. So he helped me connect with my heart, my passion. The subject matter was one I love, but I wanted to be on that plane. So every time I gave a presentation, I prepared for it. I did slides. I practiced it. I looked in the mirror. I did my handout. I mean, everything was done ahead of time. So when I walked in that room for that presentation, I was nervous. Because I wasn't used to giving presentations at that time, but it went off beautifully. I always was very grade conscious. I got the grades I want, but I always asked him, did I make the plane? He said, yep, you made the plane. And that was because I wanted to. So connect that with wanting to do something in your business. Do you want it enough in your heart that you're going to do whatever it takes to make it happen? And I never realized, but several years later, I was giving presentations as a professional running the nonprofit to hundreds of people and public speaking before large groups and public stakeholders. And I'm not sure I ever would have done that as easily had I not had that earlier experience, right?
I talked with another gal, Jessica Koch, who Microsoft hired her to teach LinkedIn to their people. It's, like she says, she started doing it because it was part of the job. I was just told, go here, do this, show up, do this talk.
Oh, wow.
Said, and then she realized, she said, it was part of my job. I didn't think about, oh, do I want to? She loved her work that she was doing. Oh, maybe I didn't get that quite right. She did groups for Microsoft. Pardon me, I have to move in my chair here. But what you were saying about the videos is it's really great practice for people to watch their videos. That's what I learned actually as a therapist was how I got better in confidence, but also in health and physical alignment by watching what I was doing in the videos and languaging the patterns, how to switch it up. And it's so true. You can't practice enough. And so I practice. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was a Boy Scout leader too. So practice, be prepared. But there's a lot to that. When I'm prepared for something, it happens. It takes away a lot of the anxiety and the fear. So preparation is actually one of the coping mechanisms. They're so afraid of competition. Well, as I mentioned, there are a lot of pizza shops in the neighborhood. Okay. You are not, I always say to clients, sorry to break this to you, but you are not unique. Okay. Whatever you're doing, somebody else has done, but you will do it differently. That's when we go back to strategy. We look at their strengths and what they're really good at. And we help them find their initial niche as they start to grow their business. But if you're afraid, like somebody else is already doing this and their eyes are just wide, I'm like, okay, so what? Let's move on. We're building your business. And I also tell them, you don't need 300 million people to be your clients. How many planning? How many do you need? What price point to make the profit that you want to make, including your expenses and your taxes? So it's having that plan, right? But yes, you're going to have competitors. It's fine. And you can actually play with your competitors, because maybe let's use real estate, for example. There's a commercial realtor and a residential realtor. They can give clients to each other. Or there's a commercial realtor who does a certain city, and they can refer to somebody else who covers another geographic area. There's just lots of ways to play. So I used to be part of a networking group, and they could only have one seat per industry. Well, they might have a commercial person in that industry and a residential person in that industry. They would find ways to slice and dice it so that they could compete together cooperatively. So collaborate. So fear of change. And I know we're getting a little bit tight on time, so I don't want to drag this out here, but fear of change. Okay, so we want things to stay the same all the time, and that's just not going to happen. Okay, that's not life. And with that, very tightly connected to that is fear of technology, which we talked, I don't know if it was before we were on the show or not, but one of the biggest fears right now is technology, because to be in today's world, and it's not going to go backwards, it's going to stay. We need to have a very basic foundation of technology, and then hire out what we don't know ourselves. I'm not asking anybody to become a coder. Okay, just understand the basics of technology and where you need to hire out.
Well, that's so true, because honestly, when I started in 2015, I learned tech. I learned how to set up my funnels in Infusionsoft. I went to Infusionsoft University. It was like great big bubble, all this stuff. And, years later, it's like, yeah, I can do this, I can do that. It's like now, because this is one of the gifts that's come from the situation in the last couple of years, is that there's more choices. They're more user-friendly. You don't have to code. They're less expensive, and there's lots of choices. You can do stuff for free. There's so much stuff for free. It's amazing.
Yes. You're absolutely right. But you need to embrace technology and not be afraid of it. That's one of the biggest drivers or biggest hindrances I've seen a lot of people is their fear of technology. So we just take it step by step. So that leads us back into coping techniques. And I want to think, so if a fear is unaddressed. So I saw this movie and I laugh every time I think of this scene. So somebody who wasn't really used to doing housework, it was hired as a assistant in a home. And she put some laundry soap in a washing machine and put way too much in, the wrong kind, whatever. She shut the lid, moved away. And as her employer comes home, soap carts starts creeping out from underneath the door. And they open the door and this entire room is filled with soap suds. Well, obviously it had gotten way out of hand. Had she realized it earlier, had she checked it earlier, she could have drained the water, done whatever. But fear is like that. If we don't look at the fear and address it and just let it grow, it's like that soapy water that just takes over our life. And that's not what we want.
No. I would just like to share too, because of the tech, just a little quick story.
Okay.
Because I knew that tech was the solution for me, automation. And because I had I'd spent tons of money and years trying to figure out how to do my business otherwise before it was optional. And when I started learning the tech, I became a better problem solver in all areas of my life. And today I say learning tech rewired my brain. I'm someone who grew up with a brain injury. I didn't know that, but I didn't understand why these things. Okay. And it is through that really, it's like, wow, I'm working differently. The stress isn't there. So it's a powerful thing, to that comfort zone that you're talking about. Get out of the comfort zone, go to that place where that challenge is. Because I just have so much good in my life because I've learned that.
I love that. You freed yourself from the technology worries, and it had a secondary benefit that you didn't even expect. That's awesome. But action crushes fear, right? So you need, I don't think you were fearful of it, but you had something you needed to have done and you sought a way to find it, to make it happen. Mm-hmm. So We don't want fear to take over our life. So action crushes fear. Create your action plan. And here, first of all, with your fears, be aware of them, name them, give them a name. Don't let them be anonymous and lurking around. Give them a name, and figure out what they are. And then decide whether or not you're going to tackle them. There might be a fear that fear of public speaking in the before 1,000 people. Maybe you're not ever going to speak before 1,000 people. You're choosing not to, and that's not going online, by the way. But whatever that fear is, there might be a fear that you truly, legitimately don't need to address, but still name it and put it off to the side because it might come back up again. You might want to address it, and you can't do them all at the same time. But anyway, first of all, be aware of them. Give them a name. Know them, and then get some facts, educate yourself. So much of fear can be taken away, and you did that with technology. So much of fear can be taken away just by knowing the facts. Okay, so a very generalized statement: everybody's competing against me. Well, maybe not. Okay, do a competitive analysis, see what your niche is, see what your SWOT is, your strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Analyze that. Literally take a class. Watch, as you said, there are lots of resources online. By the way, there's a lot of garbage online too. So make sure that
discernment.
Yeah. So make sure that you're watching some really good resources to give you some solid information. And there's a lot of that that's free out there. So get some education. And then after you've done that, you can make educated guesses on how to move forward. But the biggest part for me, I happen to be a business planner, is to create a plan. Okay. And creating your business plan does not say, I'm absolutely going to do this. No, you're just looking at the possibilities. You're trying to figure out what you want to do. So how I typically work is strategy. A lot of it's strategy. I can spend 5 or 6 sessions on strategy for a person. And by the time they've gotten through that, the rest of the plan is really created. But a lot of it is mission, vision, values, their SWOT analysis, which is strengths and weaknesses, internal, opportunities and threats external, key success factors, and goals and objectives. I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't know if you wanted to say something. Okay.
I was agreeing, but we're moving into wrapping up. So
okay.
I'm putting all the links below, and so I'm just gonna let you, because I thought you were moving into big picture there, right?
Okay. And I am. So a lot of times when you're fearful of something, creating your business plan is going to take away the fear. You're going to decide when you're going to address it, how you're going to address it. And you've got a date on there and a deliverable. So it just takes a place to park it. So it's not running around your brain all the time. And practice, we talked about that with the speech, being on the plane, Boy Scout, be prepared and practice and create a plan B. If this doesn't work, then I will do this. So having a backup plan. And here's probably another large one, small steps. Okay, so we achieve our goals by continuously achieving small steps instead of planning on doing one huge leap. And there's a great graphic of this person trying to reach the first rung of the ladder and they can't reach it, it's too high. And somebody else has scaled past them with small steps. So just taking small steps. Maybe make a call to someone, maybe make an appointment, take a class, look at a video.
There's so much
gaining
strategy. Yeah. Sorry, there's so much strategy, and it all comes back to, have that plan, take small steps, and just be consistent, show up for you. And I love everything that you've shared with us, Robin. I so deeply appreciate. So you have so much wisdom, and I hope those that are watching have been taking notes. And because I have been, I've been doing some stuff here too. So thank you so much. Yeah. And I've been posting the links below. So for any of those that are watching on the replay, do type in your questions, because the feed will remain live and we'll come back and Robin will answer any of your questions and we'll drop in any links for you. Okay. So just want to say that. And Robin, I have a couple of things for you.
Okay.
What I didn't ask you this before or prepare you, so I'm putting you on the hot seat.
Okay, it's okay.
What is something that people wouldn't know about you?
Probably that I did rock climbing. Talk about fear. I did. I've been up on the Tetons. Okay. So we went out west several years ago, and the person I was with wanted to do rock climbing. I'm like, I'll just drop them off at the school because I don't really want to do rock climbing. I ended up on top of that mountain, belaying off a perfectly good gondola through thin air and hanging on a ledge that was no bigger than 4 inches.
You are a warrior, an
Well,
adventurer. Good
it
for
was
you.
exhilarating. I was prepared. I had the lessons. I had the skill set to do these things. And I was belayed. I was tied in, right? I was tethered in, but went up that mountain, and it was awesome. So
Wow,
that.
I'm so proud of you. Good for you. So, as the client attraction queen, one of my skills that I use daily is face reading.
Okay.
And this is about understanding ourselves at a deeper level. And when you understand it also about you, you start seeing it in your clients. That's one of the ways we attract like attracts like. So
Okay.
I'm going to do just a little mini face reading
Okay.
on Robin, and so what? Just everything that comes from inside you is your
Mhm.
face is the autobiography of your life. And what you display and what people read from you is
Mhm.
the great big heart that you have. It
Oh,
shows it's this part of your face,
thank
and
you.
your hairline shows me that you think big picture. You really do.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
So yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
and both true.
And
Thank you.
your the color of your eyes shows that you have you're like the queen in that you're elegant and regal, and
Oh,
that's how you are, and that's how you treat other people. So that's
thank you.
those are terrific strengths and qualities to have in your personal life and in your business. Yeah.
Well, thank you. That was beautiful. I appreciate that. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. See, I'm already feeling better.
Yeah. Well, was there anybody else here, Robin? It was like you and I, and it's like that's
Yeah.
fabulous.
And what you just did, giving that positive feedback to me, is so empowering. And when you have somebody like that, if you're facing a fear, get Laurel to help you because having that knowledge, it makes you feel comfortable with yourself so that you can go and face those fears as you're going through business. So thank you for giving me that feedback. I appreciate that. Made my
Oh,
day, my
my
week.
pleasure. Yeah, and you made my day. Thank you so much for being such a great guest, and thank you to everyone who has joined us live. I'm here with Robin Somi. If you're coming in at the end of this, catch the beginning. Robin deposits a lot of wisdom, strategies,
Thank you.
and benefits here for those who are going from startup to growth in their business. Love you
And
lots, Robin. Thank you so
thank
much.
you. Thank you so much. If anybody has a questions, just reach out by email at robin@startuptogrowth.com and we'll schedule a free chat. So thank you, Laurel, for the opportunity. I deeply appreciate it. Good
My
luck to everybody out there
pleasure.
starting and growing.